Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where our mission is to invest,
I only expect to make money in things that I understand.
innovate,
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past.
and inspire.
I am much more likely to hit my goal just due to putting it out there.
You're now rocking with the best.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of the Ryan Pineda Show podcast. I am super excited that you guys are tuned in and watching this. It's a historic moment for me. Probably not really too historic, but I'm super excited to be doing this. A podcast is something I've always wanted to do, mainly because podcasts have changed my life. And we'll talk about that later on in the episode. But real quick, I want to give you a brief rundown of what I want to talk about this podcast. First off, for those of you who don't know me, I want to give you a quick bio of who I am and where I came from and where we're at today. I also want to give you guys the plan for this podcast, what you can expect going forward as a listener. And I want to tell you about 3 lessons that I learned from 2020, because I think for a lot of people, 2020 was a year of big change, and I think you guys are going to love some of the tips that I've picked up from the year. So anyways, before we get into all of those things, I first want to talk about a big giveaway we're having. So we are trying to get on the new and noteworthy section of Apple Podcast, and we need your help, and I am willing to bribe you to do it. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to basically be giving away thousands of dollars. We're going to be giving away a bunch of my online courses. I have different courses if you didn't know. And we're going to be doing some merch giveaways, whole bunch of stuff. And it's really easy to qualify. Here's how it goes. There's 3 steps. Number 1, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcast, make sure you're subscribed and you write a review. Okay, that's big. Number 2, if you're on YouTube, make sure you go to the Ryan Pineda Show on YouTube. We created a brand new channel just for the podcast. A lot of you guys are subscribed to my main channel, which is just Ryan Pineda. So the second channel is going to be the Ryan Pineda Show on YouTube, and it's going to be all of these podcasts on video. So definitely go subscribe to that. Lastly, to submit your, to show that you actually did it, you're going to go to ryanpineda.com/giveaway. You're going to be able to submit your proof that, you subscribed, you wrote a review, all that stuff. And we're going to end up picking the winners and do a big giveaway. So we're really excited about that. Yes, it is a bribe, but it is totally worth it, especially if you guys have been following me on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all the other ones. You know it's going to be worth it. So please go do that. All right? Now, let's jump into the meat and potatoes of this podcast, like I talked about before, and just give you a brief rundown of who I am real quick. So obviously, my name's Ryan Pineda. That is the title of the show, if you couldn't figure it out. And I've done a lot of things to this point, but as it stands right now, I'm 31 years old. I'm married with 2 kids. Both are my son just turned 2 years old, so really young kids. And I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, but before I was an entrepreneur, I was actually a baseball player. So I grew up here in Las Vegas, which is where we filmed the podcast, and I wanted to be a pro baseball player. That was all I ever wanted to do. And I ended up getting pretty close. I was, a really good high school player, ended up getting a full scholarship to go play Division I baseball at Cal State Northridge, ended up becoming an All-American and, numerous awards and other things, and got drafted by the Oakland Athletics in 2010. And from there, I thought I was living the dream and that everything was going to plan. I was going to be a big leaguer and have all the money and the fame and everything that comes with it. And, I did it for a little bit. I spent 3 years in their minor league system making nothing. I was, making $1,200 to $1,500 a month, and that was only while I was playing. It was pretty tough to live on $1,200 a month. For those of you who, have gone through it, you know what I'm talking about. And ended up getting released by them. Didn't work out the way I thought. And I ended up actually playing what's called independent baseball, still professional baseball, still getting paid around that $1,500 a month. And I did that for another 5 years. And really the only reason I did it was because I just love the game. It wasn't that, I mean, obviously I had the dream to hopefully get back into, affiliated baseball and play for the Oakland A's, but it didn't work out. But I did enjoy it because I knew that baseball had a lifespan and that I just wanted to play it as long as I could. As long as fans were willing to watch me, I wanted to play. But during that time, obviously I wasn't making money, so I had to get something on the side. And that was where my entrepreneurial spirit was developed because I couldn't get a job. Nobody was going to go hire me at a normal W-2 job and, all of a sudden I just go leave 6 months to play baseball. It doesn't work like that. So I ended up having to find different kinds of side hustles and things, and that was what led me to real estate, which is what a lot of people know me for. I ended up getting my real estate license in 2010, which was the absolute worst time to be a realtor because prices were at all-time lows. People couldn't buy. People were going through bankruptcies and foreclosures and short sales and all that stuff. But I persevered through it and sold some houses at 21 years old, didn't know what I was doing. And, I look back at that time and I'm like, man, if I could have sold houses at that point, now I see people in 2021 complaining that selling houses is tough now. And I'm like, you guys have no idea. Like, it was so much harder, 10 years ago. But after a couple of years of doing that, I realized that I hated being a realtor as well because, I was still passionate about baseball, but I hated showing clients around and just doing that whole realtor thing. So ended up quitting, not only because I didn't like it, but also I just wasn't good for it, didn't have a passion, all that stuff. And I ended up starting getting these weird side hustles, one of which is couch flipping. And a lot of you guys are probably watching this podcast right now or listening to it, I should say, because you've seen my YouTube video about how to flip couches. And if you haven't seen it, go to my YouTube channel, my main one, Ryan Pineda, and just search couch flipping. We've done a few videos on it. They're easily my most viewed videos because I talked about how I was making $8,000 a month flipping couches. And it was crazy because it was just something I stumbled into. My wife and I had gotten married really young. She had just turned 21 when we got married. And we moved into our first apartment together. We had to furnish it. We could not afford new furniture. And so I went on Craigslist and bought all of our furniture for like $1,000, furnished a whole apartment. And I just remember sitting there thinking, like, I bet you I could resell all this for like $3,000. And that was when the birth of the idea happened. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to test my theory. Started buying undervalued furniture. And I was right. I ended up selling it for 2 to 3 times what I paid for it. And I was like, I can make a business out of this. I'll make way more doing this than as a realtor. And so I ended up just buying storage units and buying a truck and all this stuff and really bet on it, and it worked out. And so I did that in my off seasons. I really just started hustling, flipping couches and really anything I could on Craigslist, furniture-wise or electronics-wise. And I was making a good living doing that. But, I realized during that time that I did not want to flip couches forever. Like, it was a great temporary thing, but to, spend the rest of my life doing that was not something I wanted to do. So Mindy and I were on our 1-year anniversary. We were in New Orleans, going to watch the Packers play the Saints. This was in 2014. And I remember praying to God one day, or during that trip, I should say. And I said, God, what do you want for my life? Like, I don't want to flip couches and all this. Like, I'm thankful that I'm able to provide, but this is not my future. What do you want for me? And I remember shortly after I saw a sign. It was a TV commercial for one of those house flipping courses and seminars. And I just remember thinking, man, that's a scam. Like, I know all these guys are scammers and whatever. And I ended up like just having this feeling inside that I needed to look more into it. So I ended up looking into it, Googling that specific commercial. And I found this website called Bigger Pockets, which was pretty much like the first podcast I started listening to because, as a beginner in real estate, they were really good. They had great books and everything. So on that trip, I bought all the books. I started listening to their podcast. And I just remember after reading the book, it was like the light bulb went off. I was like, this is what I've been missing. You know, like, it's not that I hate real estate. I just didn't like being a realtor. But I've always been good at finding deals. I mean, that's what I do on Craigslist and everything else my whole life. I've always been good at that. But, you know, I just didn't know how to buy the deals. I didn't know what wholesaling was. I didn't know what hard money was and all these things. And once I figured that out, I was like, all right, I'm going all in. And at the time, we only had $10,000 in the bank, which, you know, I know is a lot compared to most people. But I would say that 99% of people who have $10,000 in the bank do not think they could go and flip houses. I mean, I talk to them on a daily basis. I get people who message me with $100,000 and they're still like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I have enough money. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea. And, you know, long story short, I ended up going home and flying back, and I got more confirmation. I actually had somebody sit next to me on the plane who was a Christian, and he started telling me that he flips houses. And I just knew from that point that it was a wrap. Like, this is what I was meant to do. And ended up going home. I maxed out my credit cards to the tune of $50,000 just to cover what I was going to need to buy this first flip, mainly the down payment. And ended up finding a flip a couple months later and bought it. And I ended up buying another one like a couple weeks after that because it was a good deal. And I was like, you know what? I still got some extra money left. I might as well just go all in at this point. Like, I'm either going to make it or I'm not. And thankfully I made it. And that first flip made 25 grand. And that was the start of something big. That was back in 2015 when, you know, we did that first one. And ever since then, it has just led me on this journey of being an entrepreneur and building businesses and everything else. You know, I ended up flipping 5 homes that year. After that, it was about 20 homes, then 50 homes. And then 2018, we did over 140 homes. And we've been flipping over 100 ever since, you know, between, well, I should say all deals, flips, wholesales, you know, everything we do, rentals, all that stuff. And, you know, that leads us into 2021 where I've used that flipping business to build other businesses on top of it and to also use the profits to do a bunch of other things like this podcast, right? So currently as it stands here in 2021, I also own a real estate brokerage here in Vegas where we've got like 75 agents as of today. I own a CPA company called TrueBooks CPA. You guys can check that out. I should mention my brokerage is called Forever Home Realty here in Vegas. Then I also own my real estate education company, which is Future Flipper. And, you know, we have students all across the country in our coaching program. You know, I have online courses, which I mentioned earlier. And then, you know, this social media, the Ryan Pineda Show, has been a new endeavor for 2020. And I'm going to be talking about that later on in the episode. But, you know, social media, I think, is the big opportunity that everyone has that is so amazing. And, you know, it's been crazy to see all the opportunities that I've gotten just from really going hard at it this last about year. Are you looking to find off-market real estate deals? One of the best tools my team uses is Batch Leads. With Batch Leads, you're able to pull data, manage lists, and send text messages. On top of that, you can get nationwide access to the MLS to get pictures and comps. My team has used Batch Leads to get some of our best deals, so I know it works. If you want to start today, you can get half off your first month by going to batchleads.io and using the promo code Ryan. Once again, that's batchleads.io, promo code Ryan for half off your first month. One of the hardest parts about real estate investing is finding a good contractor. That's where Southwestern Custom Construction comes in. They've been doing remodels in Nevada and Arizona since 2006. As a fully licensed and bonded general contractor, they're able to help with any type of renovation, all the way from an entry-level fixer-upper to a custom luxury home. Southwestern Custom Construction specializes in working with investors. I've personally used them on many of my projects, so I know their team is legit. If you want to get a bid on a project, head over to customhomenow.com. Once again, that's customhomenow.com. Are you looking to grow your real estate investing business? My company, Future Flipper, can help. We've trained hundreds of people all over the country learn to flip, wholesale, and buy rental properties. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your investing journey. Whether you're trying to get your first deal or scale your company, Future Flipper can help. We have courses, coaching, and events for all levels of investors. So if you want to take the next step, go to futureflipper.com and book a free consultation to see how we can help you. Once again, that's futureflipper.com. Now, back to the show. So that's kind of the quick background of my story. I could talk about it all day. And maybe I will in other episodes. If you guys want to hear more about it, more of the details and what it was like going through that, if you're on YouTube, definitely leave a comment in the comment sections and let me know. And, we could do another episode about that. I didn't want to make this intro episode too long. Just want to give you guys the baseline of who I am if this is your first time listening. So anyways, that's kind of where we're at today. Now you might be wondering, what's the plan for the podcast? Why should I listen? Why should I subscribe and do all this stuff you're asking me to do, Ryan? Well, here's the plan. I'm going to be adapting. That's the plan. If any of you guys know my story and just what I'm all about, I'm always shifting gears because the world is changing really fast. And so you cannot just say, oh, this is the only way I'm going to do something. I'm not changing, whatever. That's not smart. So I will adapt on this podcast depending on what people like and what gets results. So as of now, though, the plan is to do 2 videos a week or 2 podcasts a week. And if you're watching this now, I actually initially dropped 10 episodes right out the gate because I wanted people to binge watch, and also that's what helps you get on that new and noteworthy for Apple Podcasts. So hopefully, if you're watching this, we are on new and noteworthy. Just trying to give us the best chance of success with this launch because we've been working really hard at just getting it ready. But, as far as time length goes, we're going to be doing different styles of podcasts. Right now, I'm solo, obviously. I would guess that a solo podcast will probably be, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It's hard for me to talk by myself much more. This episode might be longer just because it is the introduction, but that's what you can expect with a solo podcast. As far as the next form, it'll be a co-host. So I'm going to experiment with different co-hosts and see, how we vibe and what you guys as the viewer like, and the listener, I should say. It's funny because everything I do is mainly video. So when I think about podcast, even though it is video because we're on YouTube and I'm watching myself as I film on the screen right now, I got to remember the majority of you are probably listening. But I'm going to have a co-host and we're going to talk about different things that's, back and forth. Somebody with a different perspective than I have, just, that I think is going to be valuable for you as the listener. And then lastly, I will do traditional podcasts where I interview people. I'm going to be bringing in some of the top people in the world in various industries that, I'm excited about. And, it's going to be awesome interviewing these people. And I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. That's going to be the length and like the format. Now, as far as content goes, I just kind of talked about how, I have a real estate career and business and entrepreneurship and, all that stuff. But, our mission statement for the podcast, you may have heard it in the intro, is to invest, innovate, and inspire. And really what that means is it's highlights everything in all of my business and my life that, I'm really passionate about. Investing is something obviously we talk about with real estate, but I also have stocks and crypto and businesses. I invest in all my businesses, right? But it's not just about money too. Like, we're investing in people. I'm investing in my employees. I'm investing in the people around me. I'm investing, in my audience. Like, I want you guys to grow from watching this and listening to this. That really is like the biggest priority for doing this. Like, at the end of the day, what good is it for me talking if nobody's gaining value? So I'm really trying to invest both financially and into people. As far as innovation goes, innovate's the second word. I'm all about it. I love innovating and creating new things. I love, creating new businesses. That's why I have so many, and I'll continue to build businesses. I love creating content. That's innovating. This podcast, this is the episode number 1. This is a new innovation. Like, I'm super excited about innovation. And I'm excited about it not just in my own life, but for all the other people around the world innovating. Like, Elon Musk is one of my favorite people to watch and just see what he does. And because he's just innovating, he's not settling. You think about all the great things we have in this world, it's because of the creators and the innovators. So that's a big thing. And I want to interview people who are of that mindset, that are innovating at a high level. Same thing with investing. I want to interview people who are investing at a high level. And lastly, inspire. At the end of the day, everything I've ever accomplished or done is because I got inspired by someone else. Something inspired me to take action and do, whatever it is I was doing. It's like, I'm not the first person to flip a house. I'm not the first person to start a podcast or make a video, but somebody inspired me to do it. I saw somebody's and I liked it, and it just motivated me to go do it. And so I hope that by watching any of my content, not just the podcast, you're inspired by whatever it is that I said that video or did that video, and you take action because of it, and it makes you do something great. Like, that is the goal of everything we're doing. Invest, innovate, inspire. So, that's what you can expect for content type. We're going to be talking about all these things in general, with the subjects of real estate and business and money, social media. I love talking about social media and influence, entrepreneurship, self-development, health, everything. Like, I want to bring the best of the best on here and interview them. And I want to talk about my experiences when I do solo or co-host and all that stuff. So that's what you can expect on the podcast. Now, I know we're getting close up on time, so I want to give you 3 quick tips that I've learned from 2020. And these lessons, I think, are going to apply going forward in a big way. So first lesson I learned is that, number 1, social media is king. There's a reason that I'm starting this podcast now. I think people are spending a lot more time on their phones. And that's good or bad. I mean, your phone is a very powerful tool. We could talk about that for a whole episode. But good or bad, people are spending way more time on their phones. People are also spending more time at home. The pandemic has made people realize they can work from home. They can do a lot of stuff from home that they used to do out and about. And I also think that, attention is something that all companies are striving for. How do you get the consumer's attention? And I think people are preferring social media to any other type of attention. I think people would much rather go watch YouTube videos or scroll on TikTok or Instagram, whatever, over, watching Netflix and stuff. It's not that they don't do it. People do watch TV and Netflix, but I see social media taking that away in a big way. I think they're going to have all the attention. Now, what platforms you're on is going to be on you, what you enjoy. Everyone will be different. But I think social media is going to just continue to be this huge thing that people are on. Second thing, I think the world is changing at a really fast rate at this point. When you look at what's happened in the last 10 years, technology-wise and business-wise, and how we operate things, it's crazy. A book I highly recommend people read that I really loved was The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth. And we'll link to that down in the description below. But, it's a great book just highlighting how quick the world really is changing and what's going on. Highly recommend it. And you're just seeing with the pandemic and everything else that businesses are going to change in a dramatic way. They are being run totally different now. And I don't think that those changes are, temporary. I think they're going to be permanent changes. And you got to constantly be adapting to succeed. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, one thing I can guarantee you is that we will adapt. The podcast as it stands today will not be probably even what it'll be in a month, because we're going to make shifts and changes for how to really optimize it. So the world's changing, and you better be ready to adapt if you want to thrive. Lastly, number 3, what the pandemic really taught me and 2020 taught me is that you got to really take your health seriously. Do not take it for granted. I know Corona has scared everybody health-wise. I even had it, and I was scared when I initially got it. So I think it's put our health in the forefront, and I think everyone really needs to focus on, how do they improve the, health of them, their health. How do you improve your fitness and your diet and everything to really get the most out of life? Like, if you're not eating right and you're not sleeping good and you're not working out and doing these things, you're not going to live the best you can. And so, God forbid you get a virus or something, it's like your body is going to be weaker than someone else. So, I would just say take your health important. That is one of the huge lessons I learned in 2021 or 2020. And even as I get older now, I realize I can't do the things I did in my 20s now that I'm in my 30s. My body has a little more aches. It's a little harder to do things that I used to do, but I still am grateful for, the health that I do have, because I know it just keeps getting harder as you get older. But, those are the big 3 lessons I had. Just want to let you guys know I'm super excited for the podcast. Podcasts have changed my life. As I said, Bigger Pockets was one of the first ones I listened to, and now, it's a regular thing for me to listen to a bunch of other podcasts because I learn a lot, and I love doing it while I'm working out or stuff like that. And I would just say, don't be afraid. Like, I embrace your feedback. If you've got any feedback, please, I want to hear it. Send me an email at media@ryanpineda.com. Once again, that's media@ryanpineda.com. Or if you're on YouTube, you can leave it in the comments section. I would love to hear your feedback on ways we can improve, because that's what we're all about. We want to improve. And lastly, do not forget to sign up for the giveaway. As I said before, all you got to do is subscribe to the Ryan Pineda Show on YouTube. You need to subscribe on Apple Podcast and leave a review on Apple Podcast. Once you've done that, go to ryanpineda.com/giveaway, and you'll be able to submit verification and be entered into the contest. So I'm excited for that. We're going to be giving away thousands of dollars, courses, merch, all that stuff. So anyways, I really do appreciate you for listening. This has been an awesome first episode. Hope you're with me for the long haul, and I'm excited for what's to come. Take care.